All right, I'm here with Amos Bar-Joseph, who is the co-founder and CEO at Swan AI. Swan AI helps identify website visitors and turn them into revenue. Thanks for joining, Amos. We chatted last time in September last year. Can you give people a quick overview of what you're building and who your ICP is?
Yeah, amazing. So actually, we're building Lovable for GTM. For those of you who don't know, it's like
There we
vibe
go.
coding for GTM. Actually, what we want to build is to help SMBs, provide them with a superpower to turn any go-to-market idea into a live experiment from prompt to pipeline, basically in seconds. Swan is actually an autonomous GTM engineer. It's not an AI SDR. And actually a RevOps resource that could take your thoughts and ideas and put them into life, so you can have creative go-to-market motions and focus on the strategy, creativity, and human connection, while Swan takes care of the systems and the boring stuff.
Yeah. Can you give people an idea? I don't know if you're open to sharing this, just an idea on kind of where you are on that revenue journey, just to place it a little bit. You don't have to give me an exact number, but maybe just a
Mhm.
range.
Yeah, definitely. So we launched Swan like 9 weeks ago. It had 0 customers 9 weeks ago. Our entire motion is based on a movement that we're building and my LinkedIn content, etc. I'm going to talk about that today, Finn. But we
Yep.
scaled to 130 companies using the product, and so it's pretty crazy. Out of them, we have 80 paying customers. The rest are in trial that are going to end in the next 10 daars. So we're hoping to
Mm-hmm.
convert most of them as well. And we're pretty close to the first mil ARR. That's like in terms of like
Wow.
status.
1 million in almost 1 million in 9 weeks, so that's pretty impressive. Now, I'm curious because I think there will be lessons in there for other founders. We talked in September last year, so it's now 7 to 8 months ago that we chatted, and you were still called Orchestra back then. And I remember one of the key things that we discussed is that you were not sure whether the ICP should be RevOps or whether it should be sales, and there was like internal no clarity around who that should be. Clearly you've made a lot of progress and you've pivoted and you changed lots of things since there, and looks like you locked in on a bunch of things. How did you go from that to where you are now, where clearly you're seeing a lot of traction very quickly with what you're building? How have you made that decision? Talk me through it a little bit. What was that
Yeah.
journey like?
So like a lot of things in the startup world, you actually discover them, by interacting with the market. You don't know them in advance, right? And if just spent your entire day at the lab in closed wall, then you will never get that. You will never discover it. So just like in every Cinderella story, that happened to us as well. Um, what happened for us is I think is unique, but it's interesting. So we when we started this company, we had this constraint that we just want to build the 3 of us. We don't want to hire a big team.
The three
We want to do
co-founders.
the 3 co-founders. We actually want to do things differently. We felt like the unicorn playbook is outdated. So I've built 2 companies before, raised funds, built the sales team, scaled to 6 to 7 figure deals, and all the way to the acquisition. And I felt like in 2025, that's not the way to build. And especially when you
Mm-hmm.
see, the AI agent revolution, it's not the way to build. And we kind of like looked at each other. We also built the last company together, and we said, what if we could scale with intelligence, not with headcount?
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if we could actually prove that's possible? And if that's correct, then not only you don't need headcount, you don't need a lot of capital at the beginning. So actually, you can build this new type of business that its entire operating system is at the core. You have human AI collaboration from day one, basically, and from a strategic standpoint, you have this, AI native business. And it was a bet between friends that we said, okay, you know
Mm.
what? We want to take it public. We want to document our journey. And if we'll actually make it, then we'll get the right to actually tell folks how the new playbook should be, we want to rewrite it basically. And that evolved into a movement right now that we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing that is growing exponentially fast. Hundreds of thousands of SMBs interact with my content every month.
Yep.
And going back to your question, what we've discovered that is pretty different than how most of companies see LinkedIn content or founder-led marketing, etc., is that we didn't pick an audience and try to serve them. We actually had a movement that we didn't know. We unlocked it somehow. It's about the autonomous business. And what we found is that there's a lot of people who are interested in building autonomous businesses. It could be marketeers. It could be, a VP sales. It could be a RevOps person. It could be the CEO. It could be the CTO. It could be the CPO. A lot of different types of people. What they share in common is that notion that they feel like, they could finally scale with intelligence, not with headcount. And as an SMB, that gives them the hope that they could fight their biggest players in their niche, because finally they have a tool that could level up the competition, basically.
So before you pivoted to calling it Swan AI, and you started first creating content and putting out this point of view or this idea or this concept that you wanted to scale through intelligence, not headcount, that you wanted to build a meaningful company with only the 3 co-founders without hiring anyone. And then that rallied people around, different people. And then from there, you realize what the product should be. So
No,
audience first, and
so actually, it happened in parallel. So first of all, yes, the idea was that the narrative was the first thing that we actually realized. Okay, this is what we want to tell the world. Okay, in parallel, what happened is that we realized that this new offering, this could be the thing, but we didn't have a validation of that. We didn't have customers for that. We didn't have anything. We launched both of them at the same time. Okay, we said, okay, this is our war cry. Autonomous businesses are the future. And then in parallel, we said this is the product that we have. But these two aren't connected, directly, because if you remember what we're building, we're helping go-to-market teams generate pipeline with a RevOps resource that can turn any idea into basically a go-to-market motion. But when I talk to my audience, I tell them about the autonomous business movement. I'm talking about how businesses could operate differently at the core. I'm not selling them, a machine to identify their website visitors or why website visitors are so important or why you need a go-to-market engineer. I'm not talking about that at all. And so what happened here is that we discovered that what we're selling actually is a transformation. People want to become an autonomous business. Right. And they see Swan as the solution for it. And if tomorrow we would change, the notion of a go-to-market engineer with an AI, SDR, RevOps, or whatever, people will still come to us and and expect to go through that transformation, because Swan offers you the opportunity to become an autonomous business. And I feel like that is very unique in how people look at, founder-led marketing or content marketing, etc. You don't market your product. You market the transformation, the end result that your customer wants to become.
You're right now at 20,000 followers, and it feels like on LinkedIn, and people should be checking out your content. You're getting really great engagement right now. I have a follow-up question for that. What's been the growth like? It seems like you've been growing very quickly. You're right now at 20K. What was it like 9 weeks ago?
Yeah, so I started at 2,000, 2,500, something like that.
9 weeks ago, you were at 2K?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So growing super fast. Since I started consistently, every month I generate around 1.5 million impressions. And we don't spend a dollar on ads. We don't have an SDR team. We don't do SEO. I'm a one-person go-to-market department, basically. And I generate the entire pipeline for the business just from my LinkedIn content. So it's been working pretty crazy lately. And the cool thing is that I haven't had one post that I try to pitch Swan or try to convince our buyers that they should change their go-to-market motion so that Swan could help them. I only talk about the autonomous business revolution and how people could position their business to be better at scaling with intelligence, basically.
So 2 to 20,000 followers in 9 weeks and 1.5 million impressions average per month. You talked about this kind of narrative, this story, this transformation that you're selling that clearly is resonating. That's why you're getting that much attention, and you're able to turn that engagement and attention into people buying Swan AI. Did you validate that before? Because obviously, like, it's like you can go out there and just say this is what we believe. That doesn't mean that you'll get 1.5 million impressions per month. It might just fall on deaf ears. Like, was there a process of figuring out what that narrative should be? Did you experiment previously? Like, how did you just get lucky? You decided that this is the narrative and it happens to actually, strike a nerve?
Yeah. So first of all, it wasn't luck, and we discovered it after a couple of iterations. So I did have some luck with the fact that I started, and my first post got viral a bit, and then the second post also got viral a bit, but it wasn't clear that we should talk about the autonomous business. This is the framing, etc. We actually had, spoiler, we actually had like human first sales. We started with that, okay? More kind of like focused on sales, and we have this notion of, we should use AI to make sales more human, right? So we actually started with a slightly different narrative than the autonomous business that we have right now. And we actually adapted it because we saw what works, okay? And I'm going to talk about that in a second. But the most important decision that we made before we started is that we want to start a movement. We don't want to just be another, founder-led marketing engine. Okay, we want to be different. We feel like, just trying and there's huge opportunities with doing it. And I'm a big believer in founder-led marketing. And, you have these amazing examples of people, CEOs doing it perfect and generating a ton of money for their business. But I felt like we could do something bigger than that. And so we aimed higher, and we said, instead of just trying to position me as a thought leader in a space, we can try to take over the market and say we're building a movement. And a movement is different from founder-led marketing in the sense that I'm not trying to build my own brand. I'm actually trying to get this notion of the autonomous business and spread it kind of like across, the market like flames. And the more people would talk about that, the more successful I am. So actually, the more user-generated content we see, the more I'm successful. It's not about my impressions. It's about, the total impressions for this concept of the autonomous business on LinkedIn, basically. So it's different in that approach. So we started with the movement, Finn, and then we iterated on that. We said, okay, we had the human first sales movement. People would resonate with that because people want to have, a human first go-to-market approach, because people want to believe that humans will prevail, and people want to believe that sales would be humans selling to humans. That is the more optimistic future. And what's happened is that I did a post, like a building in public post, about how we're building an autonomous business, etc. And that exploded. And then I realized, okay, we should keep the human first narrative, but what people really care about, what we can actually conquer the world with, is this autonomous business concept. And that led to this movement that, we're growing right now.
I love it. So couple of comments here. One, I would still call it founder-led marketing because it's still led and evangelized by you. You can still pull other people along. I would say the biggest difference I see is, I would say classic founder-led marketing is you share insights that are relevant to people, right? Like, you sell to VPs of sales and you think about what insights, tips, strategies could I talk about that would be useful to a VP of sales. You rather go define a point of view, like what do we believe, and then you go out there and you evangelize that, and you get followers, people who believe into that and believe that idea. So I think that is a difference. Now, you said
Finn, let me double down on that.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, because I just want to double
down.
Yeah. I agree, because I think so. It's important to have that distinction. So founder-led marketing, in our perspective, is a channel. So like, I'm doing founder-led marketing. Like, I'm the one who has, I'm growing my own brand, and through my LinkedIn content, we're getting so much traction. And a movement is more like a holistic, comprehensive strategy. Okay, what do we want to say, basically, right? So a founder-led marketing could be a channel for the movement that we're building, and that's how we're doing it. And if people are interested, I can also share about a framework on how to understand how to build a movement, how we
Let's
actually
do it. I mean,
build
if you
our
can do it right
narrative.
now.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. So to actually have a powerful narrative, not only a movement, but if you want to get out of the box of just sharing your insights from your experience and you want to talk about something bigger than that, so you need to have two things that you run in parallel, basically the narrative and the narrator. Okay, so the narrative should be what I call challenge the challenger. Okay, what does that
Mm,
mean? Challenge the challenger. It means that right now there's a mainstream futuristic vision of how your space is evolving. Okay, so if you're in go to market, for example, there's like this notion of AI SDRs. This is like a mainstream
right.
concept right now. People adopted this challenge to the status quo that SDRs maybe are going to be eliminated and it's going to be AI SDRs in the future. I'm challenging the challenger by saying that digital labor is bullshit, that people who believe in AISDRs are short sighted. The real unlock comes from finding your 100x seller. You do that by human AI collaboration. And that's how you get to the 100x seller, not by replacing your workforce, but by amplifying their capabilities with AI that knows how to push their strength to the 100x threshold. And so in the context of the narrative, this is a challenging the challenger. Okay, this is the first
Mm-hmm.
thing here in the narrative. And this should be a controversial take that sparks hope and optimism in your audience. It must be. It can't be something that strikes fear in them or that puts them
Right.
in a negative space. And what I give them
Mm,
is the hope that humans will prevail. And that is an amazing emotional connection to my narrative. And that is the most important piece. It has to be a positive, optimistic, sparking hope narrative. Okay, so that's challenge the challenger. Then you need to connect it with the narrator. The narrator is more important than the narrative here. So you have to be the most uniquely positioned person on earth to tell that narrative. Okay,
mm-hmm.
if you're not the most uniquely positioned person on planet Earth to tell it, then nobody will listen to you. And so we're building, we're advocating for the autonomous business, right? That's the movement that we're pushing. But we're building the first autonomous business, and we're actually doing it in the most radical way. We're trying to get to $30 million ARR with just 3 FTEs, with just 3 founders. No one is doing that. No
Mm-hmm.
one is trying to get there. And so if we'll get there, we're kind of like, we own the right to tell that story. And so the fact that we're sharing that, we have the authority to actually do it. And you see what's crazy about here, Finn? I'm not talking about my experience. I don't get my authority from my experience. I actually get my authority from what I'm doing today. And this is a story that I'm telling you about it, right? It's a goal,
Right.
actually. It's actually a goal that I set. And with setting that goal, I actually earned the right to tell the story.
Yeah. Now, you said challenge the challenger. Is it necessary to challenge the challenger? Isn't it enough to just be the challenger? Like if I'm 11x, right, and I'm building the AI SDR, and let's say I'm the first one, can I do the same thing and just say, look, the standard playbook is you hire a bunch of SDRs and you scale your sales team like that. With an AI SDR, you'll be able to scale much more quickly with fewer people. You'll have similarly higher ARR to employee. You can free up your people's time from like tedious cold calling. We'll take care of that. That's hopeful. That's exciting. Like that's a challenger to the status quo, not a challenger of the challenger, right?
Yeah, great. That's a great question. Yeah, so depends on your stage. I would say if you're a well-established brand and you're trying to get to people that are more resistant to change, you're more old school, your audience is more conservative, then maybe challenging the status quo will be the right choice for you. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're a CEO or a marketeer of a startup and you're not the top dog in your space, you don't have like 10 years of experience in being the first brand in your buyer's mind, then you have to rise above the noise. You have to be contrarian. You must be contrarian. If you're not contrarian, then you're not interesting and you're not enlightening your buyers. They want to learn something new, right? And people are telling them that they should change the way they work all the time. So you need to understand that all of the market right now, except for the incumbents, the boring incumbents, all of your competitors are trying to educate your buyers on why they should change the status quo. It's already been done. And so if you will also do that, then it will be boring because, okay, you're also telling me that I should change the status quo, but I have like 20 different people knocked on my inbox in the last 10 minutes. They told me that I should also change the status quo. That's not interesting. But you're saying that all of them are wrong. Okay, that is interesting because you're challenging the challenger.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, you said your first post essentially went viral. Your second post basically went viral. You've been going viral pretty consistently. I mean, that's how you've been able to grow so quickly on LinkedIn. You clearly learned from people like Adam Robinson and Gal Aga. What if you had to put into a nutshell, if you were talking to a SaaS founder and they're like, I want to grow as quickly as you're growing, and I'm going to put out my first post and I want it to go viral. You can't perfectly engineer it, but there's definitely ingredients. Like, what are the things that you looked for in your first post and that you keep looking for in your post right now to increase the likelihood that you reach a lot of people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you can divide into strategy and tactics, right? So, I would say, like a disclaimer, being tactical and technical on the post can get you yay far. It's not how you go viral. Okay, you don't go viral by just writing amazing, perfectly written posts. Okay, it's not how you go viral. To go viral, you need the X factor. The X factor comes from strategy. Strategy is the narrative. Okay, so you need to think on your narrative. Okay, that's one thing. And from a tactical standpoint, there are some tricks to to move faster. First thing, so we did smart thing when we launched. So I did I updated my job. Like I started a new job, even though I didn't. Okay, so I'm sharing you here the secrets to how you actually start a drumbeat, what we call. So it's a drumbeat. You need to have the first week of posts, and these should be amazing posts. You need to have it prepared in advance, and then you start with I changed my job. It doesn't matter. LinkedIn don't care if you really change your job. The algorithm, what it just do is it takes your post and spread it across all of your first connections. Okay, so that is an amazing boost. So
and that was essentially when you rebranded from Orchestra to Swan AI, and you kind of made it, hey, I'm starting Swan AI.
Exactly, but you can do whatever you'd like. Basically, you can use it however you want. So you can start with that. Then you can have the drumbeat of following on that momentum that you've gained from the first post of the launch. After that, a couple of tricks is that you can be like an intermediate, like a broker of information, basically. So you don't. I hate posts that say, yeah, this is my point of view. I never do it. Okay. Even though I have solid opinions on a lot of things and, I'm building an autonomous business, etc. I never tell you, this is what I think about X. This is boring. No one will care what you think about anything. Okay. At the beginning. So what you can do is you can say, okay, this is a hot story. And this is basically.
Let me share my screen here. So this post from a day ago, which got pretty good engagement. I don't know if you can share how many impressions you got. That's an example
of 50,000 impressions so far, something like that.
There we go, 50K impressions from a day ago. This is brokering information.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to say, so what I have here is the fact that we see that the application layer in the AI is actually growing much faster than a lot of foundational models out there. And so this really speaks to the autonomous business movement. It's super interesting because you can build on top of AI, on top of the API of OpenAI, and you can still grow fast. And so I wanted to give that hope to my audience. Say, guys, it's okay to build on top of OpenAI. You can grow super fast with it. So this is kind of like the angle here. But what I did is I didn't just tell it to people. I said, you know what? OpenAI is trying to acquire Windsurf and Cursor. This is a signal that XYZ, and people are interested because this is news. and it's
Mm-hmm.
actual, and they're learning about something that's happening, but actually they end the post with saying, you know what, this is your moment to build. The rapper revolution is just beginning. I'm inspired. I'm going to repost, and you see 15 reposts because people, they reposted it not because of the news that I actually broke, like been the broker of. It was actually, they repost because they felt like, they, sympathize with the revolution, right? They feel like
Mm-hmm.
that they want to echo the voice of, if it's our time to build. It's a,
Yep.
it's a war cry.
Yep. I mean, obviously, also you clearly spend time on the hook, right? 300 million ARR, 10 billion valuation, zero foundational models. The fastest growing AI startup in 2025 isn't building AI at all, and they just rejected a
Yeah.
$15 billion acquisition. Here's what everyone missed about the real money in AI.
Yeah.
Cliffhanger in there.
Yeah, I can share
Yeah.
my tactics around writing great hooks if that's interesting.
Yeah, go for it.
So of course, there's the power law and LinkedIn content is that the value of every word that you write is exponentially going down with every word you write, basically, right? So like the first word is super important. The second word is much less important. The third word is much less important as you continue with your post. So you need to think of it as, the first letters that I write in the post are the most important ones, right? And you need to capture. So people think that a hook is the most important thing, but if you break it down, the first word is the most important thing. Then, the first 5 words are super important. Okay, then a little bit less if you look at the 10 words, etc. So I always try to capture the attention of the reader at the first couple of words. Okay.
Yep.
So numbers go well, but also, try to, do pattern interrupts. So like things that people are not reading as they scroll through the feed. So I love to start with, a number or saying things like the fastest, the best, the strongest. So things that, gets you excited. Okay, this is something that is really special here, right?
Yep.
So this is, one super important thing to understand about hooks. And then basically you want to keep it ambiguous in some level. Okay, so you don't want to spill all the beans at the hook, but you want to provoke that curiosity, and you want to get the feeling when you're reading the hook that you get what the post is about, but you don't get it. You need to read it to actually get it. So you need to actually touch upon that nuance when people are reading it, so that they will actually think, yeah, I understand what I'm going into, so I want to read more, but actually I don't really understand how I will end that post, so I need to read
Right.
more.
Cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your process? What's your process from idea, writing, publishing? Do you do it all by yourself? Do you have someone helping you? What's your process? How much time do you spend per post, etc.?
Our thesis is that we scale with intelligence, not with headcount, and that goes to the core of every process that we have in the business. And so I have a swarm of agents that help me all the way from writing the content up to actually identifying who's engaging with the content and who should I focus on that is ICP, and who's sending me connection requests, who's visiting our website, etc. In terms of the process. So from a technical standpoint, I have a project in both ChatGPT, but also a project in Claude. And that project has all of my posts. It has our manifesto. It has, like guides that I wrote to myself about how to write a hook. All this super critical information. And I have like an amazing prompt that I guide the AI to act as kind of like a brainstorm partner, basically. And what I do is I come with an idea. I just blab everything. I just spit it out on the AI. Sometimes voice. Sometimes I just write. I don't care about repetition. I don't care about style, format, anything. I just just shoot it over, and then I work together with the AI to put it into a cohesive post. We start with the arc actually. So the first thing we focus on is the arc of the post, like what would be the story that we're going to tell. We agree on the arc. Then I spend most of the time on the hook, right? Then after I nail the hook, I kind of I work 2 to 3 sentences at a time, and it takes me around 20 to 30 minutes in a good day. It could sometimes take me 45 minutes to write a post, but before that, it took me hours to do it. So yeah.
Right. And then do you do this whenever you have an idea? Do you have like a day where you do 2 or 3 of them and then you schedule them out?
Yeah. So I committed to 3 posts a week. That's my commitment. It's like going to the gym, and it's LinkedIn. It's all about consistency. So I just made that promise to myself, and I tried to. I haven't missed a week yet. So
Do you have set days?
no,
Or
I
is it
don't
just
have. I don't have. So what works for me is that I have like a Notion page where I just throw ideas whenever I just think of something. It's always on my mind, basically. I'm obsessed with these posts, and I try to always open my mind to ideas. And my framework is that I have these you can call it like pillars or like anchoring points or like lenses that I look at the world around me through these lenses, and that helps me generate ideas. So I have the building in public. So building in public means that I look at the business, and I can look at things that are interesting that are happening within the business, and that could spark ideas for a post. Then I have the human first aspect, how human and AI should be looked at from a collaboration perspective, not human empowerment, not human replacement. So whenever I see something, I can say, yeah, this is interesting. This could be like a human empowerment play. For example, 11x, their fiasco, etc. I could say, oh, right, this is just an evidence that human empowerment wins, not human replacement wins, for example, right? Another narrative is F the unicorn playbook, and what you should do is you should go for the autonomous business playbook. And so whenever I see like a bloated unicorn that is missing the mark, I can say, yeah, this really connects to this narrative. So I have these lenses that I look at the world through it, and then I can generate these ideas from just information that I interact with. So I think it's super important to just to figure out with yourself, what are your lenses, like how are you looking at the world, through which perspective. And if you have them very well articulated, then it will be much easier to just see information, see news, see things happening within your company, see conversations that you have with prospects or customers, whatever, and just through these lenses, understand what ideas you can come up with about just to communicate to the world.
Yeah. So let's say someone defined their narrative. They decided what they want to build a movement around. And there's probably some iteration process to actually see what resonates. And they found something that resonates, which is clearly that's the hardest part. And now they committed to posting 3 times a week. They understand the importance of strong hooks and how to write them. And they, maybe use AI to shorten their writing process. I know that Gallagher just sits down for 2 or 3 hours and writes a post. What are some of the other things that you guys are doing? And I know that's where Swan also comes in, to turn that attention, those impressions, into paying customers, into revenue, into pipeline.
Yeah.
What are some of the, and I don't just mean, I want to hear about, like, I don't know, sending connection requests to warm engagers or something like that. I'm also talking about, what are some of the other activities on LinkedIn that you feel like are important? Maybe engaging, commenting, like what else besides just showing up and publishing 3 times a week is important?
Yeah, great question. And I think, we have a super powerful playbook there, because the fact that we bet on LinkedIn content as the sole, revenue generator for the company, right? So we are living off my LinkedIn posts right now. And, so we're starting to have more podcasts and newsletters, and people are starting to talk about us, but still, my LinkedIn posts generate 90% of the revenue that we generate. Okay. So you need to have an amazing system around it to actually turn it into revenue, because you can't just sit on the fence and say, yeah, people will like my posts and they will buy my product. It doesn't work like that. And so you can think of it as kind of like a funnel. If you go from top to bottom, basically. So the top of the funnel are people that are interacting with my post. Okay, this is the
Mm-hmm.
top of the funnel. The weakest kind of like point in the chain, like just awareness, you can think of it. So I have what we call the observer. It's an AI agent that looks at all the engagements that I have. I have more than 15,000 engagement points during a month with my
Mm-hmm.
posts, comments and likes and reposts, basically, but mainly comments and likes. And it goes over all these 15,000 data points, surface qualified leads that have interacted multiple times with my content. Okay, this is one thing. And what it does, it pushes these leads into Slack and tell me about other posts they're interacting with that are similar. So I can also say, yeah, you know what? I noticed that you're talking about X or that you're liking X, and I can connect with them on such an emotional level that I'm not only talking about me, I can actually identify. So, a good example from like last week, I had someone that replying to a post that hate AI calling, right? And so I can tell,
Mm-hmm.
I can say, yeah, you know what, the human first narrative is really strong here. I can tell that person, yeah, you know what, I don't believe that AI will replace your SDRs, right? We can hate, and we can connect on that emotional level, and that lead is kind of like super connected to what we want to sell, even if he doesn't even know what we're building, right? So that's like top of the funnel. Then
Mm-hmm.
step downwards, you have what we call the connector that monitors my LinkedIn connection requests. So I get
Mm-hmm.
around 280, 300 connection requests each day. And so that's a lot of traffic to go through. So I have an agent that goes through these connection requests, accepts everything, of course, because we want to accept these connection requests, but identifies qualified leads and starts a conversation with them. So sends an automatic message to them. If they reply, I take it from there. So basically every day I have around 100 to 150 messages waiting in my LinkedIn inbox. And now it's getting
Right.
interesting. I think this is an important point that people don't understand. People underestimate the importance of replying to comments and replying to messages that people send you in the DM. So if you reply to people, they will love you more, they will appreciate your time and will respect you more, they will follow your content more, and they will want to buy your product eventually, much faster. But beyond that, the LinkedIn algorithm compensate you for messaging with them, basically. So if you message someone, the probability of you appearing in their feed is much higher. So part of my way of going viral is spending a lot of time in my DMs and actually, talking to people that I don't really want to talk sometimes, but I feel like, okay, you know what? I'm okay. Let's talk with them. They're cool. They're fun. I can spend that time because I know it's part of my strategy to kind of grow my LinkedIn presence. So that's the
Yep.
connector. Going downwards from there, we have people, they engaged with the post, sent a connection request. Now they're on our website. They didn't convert. So there we have the Hunter, which is kind of like Swan's flagship product. It identifies these visitors, qualifies them based on research, enriches them, finds all the buying committee within the company, and kind of like either recommends me how to reach out to them for like high value segments, and for low value segments sends like an automatic message and notifies me about the reply.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is within Slack. That's like our command center for all of these agents, which is very important to understand. Afterwards, I have the gatekeeper, which filters out leads that actually request access. Then we have a prep agent that prepares me for the calls that I have with the demos, and then we have like post meeting agent that documents the conversation, summarize it, give me action items and tasks and follow up emails, etc. But that is, I think, for another conversation.
Oh wait, we're at time here. Do you have time for one more question, or you have a hard
I do, I
cutoff?
do, I do, I do. I have.
All right. So your stated goal is to reach 10 million ARR per employee. So basically, you have your three co-founders. You want to hit 30 million ARR with the three of you guys. What do you think is the biggest lever here? Is it just using AI agents? That's the key, and that's how you get to 10 million ARR per person in the startup, or what are some of the key things that you believe need to be
Yeah.
true to be able to hit that?
Yeah, no, it's not about AI agents for sure. No, no, no. It's about a different operating system for a company, basically. So we look at all the regular functions that you have in a regular business, and we first of all, we think they're wrong. They need to prove us that they're right. And for example, I'll give you an like how we changed a core process in the regular business, how we turn it on its head, and why we think that really helps us scale, for example. So we don't separate SEO, content, demand gen, SDRs, sales, CS, and support. All of these different functions actually sit under what we look at as customer lifecycle. And we have Swan and our different agents helping us basically look after leads from the moment they interact with my posts all the way up to they actually get onboarded successfully into the product and the support. So Swan has the same context on that lead all the way. And so when you look at customers like that, when it's not handoffs between different departments that are incentivized completely different, then you know that everyone is aligned around making the business healthy, getting the best customers that will have the highest retention, the best conversion, and the simplest onboarding, right? And so we have the entire customer lifecycle department, which is me and my CPO working together on that. Basically, you see the kind of like how organic is it and how healthy it's for the business when you're actually trying to work on that in parallel. You're not trying to just in every step push as much as you can to the to the next step, right?
So this was super fun. What's when can we talk again? When are we gonna when are you gonna achieve the 10 million per ARR goal? What's your best estimate?
Hopefully, if things continue to go crazy like this, I'd say end of 2026. That will be so.
A year and a half. Let's go.
Yeah, a year and a half from now, we'll get there if the current growth rate, and we're super excited about the next product that we're bringing to the market. This autonomous GTM engineer. We feel like that will be the biggest unlock for SMBs and for their go-to-market. So we feel like this is going to be rad, and people are going to go bananas for it. So yeah, we're excited about it.
Well, thank you for joining me. If people want to check you out, there will be links both to your LinkedIn and to Swan AI in the show notes. And yeah, thank you for your time.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, Finn. Thank you so much.